Hi there, my name is Krik. I'm the Director and Head of Negotiated Resolutions Limited. Negotiated Resolutions Limited is a negotiation company operating in the corporate environment, and we provide three services. The three services that we offer is that we train organisations in negotiation. We are there to coach in the background for organisations carrying out negotiations, and we also provide negotiators for hire for those negotiations that you cannot afford to lose. My background is I was the former head of armed policing and hostage negotiation in Scotland. Having spent 27 years as an armed response officer and a hostage negotiator, I eventually retired, becoming the head of those both portfolios within Police Scotland. And I also sat on the National Negotiator Group and the International Negotiator Working Group, where we shared best practice from all of those law enforcement agencies around the world. I was also lead advisor to US law enforcement on conflict resolution and de-escalation of force. And over that year, I learned that the high stakes, high pressure negotiations that I had been involved in for many years was a transferable skill set, and I was able to transfer those skills into the corporate world and help companies who face those very challenging situations. And for the last 7 years, I've been doing that very thing, both in the corporate world and in the humanitarian sector. In addition, I've also been providing presentations and lectures in the academic world to St Gallen University, HEC in Paris, University of Stirling and in Cambridge, and not to mention Harvard University, where we are focused mostly on teaching the MBA students how to deal with negotiations as they commence and start up new businesses in the corporate world. I have a series of modules all the way from 1 through to 18, where we basically go through an A to Z process, and we stipulate in this A to Z process each stage of a negotiation. But last but not least, we show you how to navigate that process, culminating in downloading all of that experience from the law enforcement world, dealing with hostage taking, siege, barricade, suicide intervention, all of those types of incident under the highest of pressure and highest of stakes. And therefore, we feel equipped to deal with the context of that pressure in that high intensity environment. Pause. In terms of the organisation itself, at the core of our values is fairness, authenticity, trust, and building sustainable relationships, building partnerships. So we deal with this conflict in a way that allows us to not necessarily become engaged in a transactional win-lose traditional negotiation style. We use our experience where for all of those years in the hostage negotiation world, we never saw each deployment or each job as a win-lose. We never felt that we won anything. We always just made the situation better and not worse. In terms of the training modules that I would speak about in general terms, it's underpinned by a mnemonic. A mnemonic is called I Resolved. And if I go through the stages of I Resolved, so the team within Negotiated Resolutions is myself, Stephen McNeil, Stephen McAllister, Gavin Hutton, and Robert Coburn, all of whom worked with me as experienced hostage negotiators in the Scottish hostage negotiation team in Police Scotland for many years. And also as Mike McComas, who I worked with on many occasions as a supervisory special agent in the FBI, currently based in the USA. In addition, we have my wife, Kirstine Cannell, who is the head of marketing and also support to the training program. And I have further association with Fiorella Ernie. Fiorella, currently based in Switzerland, has joined us from the International Red Cross and brings that humanitarian experience and strength to the team. And last but not least is my sister, Lorraine Nicholson, who is a qualified and practicing clinical psychologist and has her practice just outside Melbourne in Australia. And she provides the psychological support and academic background to support the training modules. Each module within the iResolved program is a chronological sequence of events. iResolved, the I stands for information. That information gathering process, where as hostage negotiators, we start to gather as much information on the issue at hand to give us advantage in any way we can for our tactical use of data. The R stands for realizing the problem, where we contemplate the problem that exists and think of the reality of that and not just the perception of the problem, usually reported by our clients. The E stands for examine and analyze the issues and the people involved, where we carry out a stakeholder assessment and we think about the issues that are on the table and the people in the game and how they relate to each other. We basically look at the ecosystem of the organisation that we would negotiate with. In terms of strategy and tactics, of course, we would develop a strategy which was designed to assist our client, but our tactics would change based on the behaviour and the information that becomes available, again to give us maximum tactical advantage. The O stands for open dialogue. That's where we would go through a process of how to engage the counterpart so that we help the relationship, we build the relationship, and for me, building sustainable relationships, sustainable partnerships is also about repeat business. It's about making profit and making a benefit for everyone involved. The L is for listen, understand, and influence. For me, this is probably the key area of negotiation, where we teach them the skills that hostage negotiators, and it's slightly more advanced than what most negotiation companies would call active listening. We actually go down to the 9 layers of listening levels that are employed by hostage negotiators, and they are facts, emotions, values, beliefs, motivators, currency and worth, context and impact. Each of those layers can be analysed and when put together show a pattern of behaviour which help us figure people out. Once we've done that, we want to influence the behaviour of the other group. Of course, we have already established a relationship with them based on those listening skills and based on empathy, where we connect with people, create those engrossed transformational moments where they feel heard and understood and are open to the perspective of others, most notably our perspective. So we validate our assumptions and use the power and leverage that we have gathered over the course of a negotiation for E at the point to establish a proposal and close the deal. And we close the deal when we understand the true value we have acquired during the negotiations, and we can close it when we pressurise them to accept something which will be beneficial to them in the long term. The last area is debrief, and in the world of negotiation, We always debrief every incident, every success, and every area for learning. All of these are backed up by not only years of operational experience, but by the academic research we've gleaned in terms of the psychology and neuroscience which supports negotiation from the beginning. In terms of the modules, we have modules on conflict resolution and empathy, where we emphasize what we really know from empathy, and practically how can people learn empathy in a different way from the way they've learned it previously. Most people think that empathy is walking in the shoes of other people, where we bring a different perspective to that, showing them that you can actually walk in the shoes of other people. In fact, if you try to do so, you would diminish their experience. So we show them how to recognize and articulate the emotions in context which we have observed and we've seen. Legitimacy, credibility and trust, module number 2. How do you become legitimate? How do you become credible? And how do you build trust? Legitimacy is when you're qualified. Credibility is when you have experience, expertise, and you come with a mandate without having to refer further to your decision maker. And trust, last but not least, is built on providing a reliable repeat experience where people feel certain about how you do business. The problems that come with mandate, we speak about the mandates, the red lines, all of the areas where there's flexibility. In terms of our stakeholder analysis, examining the issues and the people involved, we show people how to carry out an analysis and analyse the ecosystem that surrounds the players and the decision makers, and what is the route between the negotiating team and the decision maker from the other side, so that we might plot a route and show them how to get to the decision makers and influence the people with the power. In terms of strategy and tactics, we recognise that we're trying to move them from a position of competition to collaboration. We recognise that if we stay in the world of competition, it usually goes to the lowest possible cost. And we show them that the value is not only in the cost, but the function and also the social and psychological aspects. Dialogue and listening. We start off from the opening meeting, how to open meetings and engage in dialogue, all the way through from first to last impressions. Understanding other people. Module number 7. That's how we show them how to figure people out, how to listen to them, how to look for patterns in behaviour, and how to gather that all together so that we realise the animal that we are dealing with. Power and leverage. We show the participants how to evaluate power, recognising that power is afforded to you by others, and it's not something that we afford to ourselves. So we draw from that power and use that to have an impact on the other side. Module number 9, decision making. The ability to make decisions in a clear and concise way so that we can assist companies to rely on their instincts, intuition and impulse, but also to put negotiation and information gleaned as part of that process so that they're making decisions in a logical, structured way. The other modules involve corporate negotiations, giving feedback, difficult people, dealing with stress, questioning, de-escalation of conflict, threat, risk and harm, craft and savvy, which is our word for know-how, the know-how that we've gleaned over many years to outmaneuver those who come to the table with bad faith. And also leadership and management. All of these modules give us a manner in which we can engage in negotiation, but also can interact with corporate organisations and touch with them in terms of leadership, change management, organisational structure, and many more. Thank you.